Yo neighbors, Baldy Locks Reviews. I'm actually super excited for this one. Number 159, G.I. Joe Classified, Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball is a Walmart exclusive in the US and one of the most anticipated figures of 2025. Which is fantastic considering this was 1987's Pegwarmer. He is perhaps considered one of the most disliked figures out of A Real American Hero. But could he be Figure of the Year? It's only June, but it's very possible this guy is Figure of the Year. So let's get into it. How does he relate to Stephen King? Is he a dreadnought? Is he part of Cobra La? Is he cool now? Let's take a look. And what's up with this name? Richard Crystal Ball King. Is Hasbro giving fans a good Dick King? Sorry, bad joke, I had to. We'll get into that. Crystal Ball unboxing coming up. Yo neighbors, G.I. Joe Classified Series number 159, Richard Crystal Ball King. That is a mouthful. Let's take a quick look at the packaging, get this guy open, find out who he is, see what he comes with, and then let me know if you're going to pick him up. Here's Crystal Ball in his packaging. So they went back to this smaller footprint packaging, plastic window. You can see everything that he comes with here. Some really incredible artwork here on the side. This is kind of showing the mystic side, but it's more like, I think it's more like Spider-Man's Mysterio now, where it's done with technology. But the side kind of highlights this demon face, this crystal ball that he uses. Other side is stats. Again, I don't look these up. QR code to nowhere. Artwork on the back that shows Crystal Ball. I think this is referencing something in the comic books. That is Firefly in the background. Again, shows this kind of demon hypnotic head and then highlights some of the tattoos that he has on his arm. All in all, very cool update to what was a peg warmer back in 1987. And before I knew what a peg warmer was, I had a very fun memory of getting this guy when I was a kid. This was a gift from my grandmother. I remember getting it probably before any of us knew what a peg warmer was. So I remember getting this guy, and he came with this cool little like lenticular shield. See if I can get it to focus. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Kind of has that 3D hypnotic effect. This was his shield that he came with. The shield clips right on his arm, and then, you know, he would hypnotize either Cobra or Duke characters. Duke characters, I meant to say G.I. Joe. But anyway, I remember getting this character and thinking he was kind of cool. He was unique. I always did like these kind of gimmicky little pieces that would come with some of the figures. And at the time, I didn't know what a shelf warmer or a peg warmer was. I don't think anybody did. But I do remember I used to walk up to this store called Clover. Clover always had a ton of G.I. Joes on the shelf. And I do remember I thought this guy was cool. A lot of my friends didn't have him. And I remember walking into Clover for weeks or months after getting this figure. Heck, it could have been years. And he was always there. So even with a rotation of new figures coming and going, he was always on the shelf. So I do kind of remember him peg warming, but not really realizing what that meant at the time. I always thought he was kind of neat because he was this hypnotist, and he was different than most characters I was used to getting at the time. I mean, what was a Cobra hypnotist? So, of course, now we know that this file card here, which goes into his story of how he was born of a Romulan father who supposedly had second sight, and an American mother from Bangor, Maine. Crystal Ball actually was the seventh son of a seventh son. That was a lot to take in as a kid. And now we know that the file card was written by Stephen King and his son Owen King, which is really kind of cool because it gives it that mythic, horror, mystical, magic, creepy presence to this character, which of course we now know is from Stephen King. And his name now is an Easter egg to Stephen King. Richard Crystal Ball King. So the last name King, obviously Owen and Stephen King. But the first name Richard, it's not really Dick King. Richard was the pseudonym that Stephen King used to write under. So it was Richard Bachman. There was a series of books he wrote from 1977 to 1985 under Richard Bachman. And I know, Adam, that you were asking where they came up with this name. And it's been confirmed. Richard Bachman. So that's kind of a cool little Easter egg to the history of the character and his file card story from Owen and Stephen King. Very cool Easter eggs. So now we kind of know the history of the creation of the character and who helped create the character. But Crystal Ball wasn't really ever popular. He wasn't in the cartoon series. He wasn't really utilized much in the comic book, but he did make some appearances. And in some of his early appearances, even here in his sculpt, he kind of looks like a mix of Vincent Price, Sean Connery, and with the feathered hair, even Wolverine. And you can see that in this picture from the Marvel Comics here. But I do think they leaned heavily into the Vincent Price kind of look to go with the mystical horror aspect of the character. And you know what? I'm going to go over some of this history while I'm opening him up because I really want to open him up. So the character also appears in the comic books later, like the IDW run, where he almost looks like Charles Manson. And they wrote him to be more of a Rasputin type of character, a Manson type of character that would influence people. And he rose through the political ranks of Cobra as kind of a manipulator. So I always thought that was kind of cool that they went with that Rasputin type of character arc. He is such a great update. Look at this. I mean, that is how you do classified. So to me, again, I like the classified look when they update these characters from something like this to something like this. Just a really cool kind of modern take. Wow, I don't even have him out of the package, and he could be figure of the year. And I guess I can't really go over the history while I open him up because the plastic sounds so loud. So let me just pop him out here. And on the insert here, don't throw it out. I highly doubt you'll miss it, but here's his shield and I guess like his shield cover. So you can do a modern take, and pretty sure that's lenticular on that side. Nice throwback. Yeah, that's cool, man. Nice little throwback to the original figure. It's got that lenticular kind of animation. I think this will play on camera. Yeah, you can kind of see the movement there. What a cool little throwback. All right, so a little bit more of history. So there's this kind of forgotten trading cards called Honor Roll. Trading cards became like a big thing in the early 90s with like Marvel, DC. So Impel made this G.I. Joe Honor Roll series. I don't have the original card, or at least I can't find it. I could have sworn I had the whole set. But here's his original card from Honor Roll. So this now, do you guys remember on the back of, actually it wasn't on the box. So if you guys remember when they announced Nemesis Immortal last year, you had this character in the background with this head and this knife with this sword, and everybody was wondering who it was. So here in this promotional art, if you zoom in here, that's Crystal Ball. So if you go off his original file card, it does not say anything about Cobra La. The comics, there was no affiliation with Cobra La, which includes the Marvel run, IDW. Has he been in Skybound yet? I'm not sure. But a lot of people were wondering, why would he be in the back of Nemesis Immortal, Nemesis Enforcers, card art, or promo art? It's not card art. I gotta stop saying that. Promo art. Why would he be there? So, if you look here on this card, this was an update to the story of Crystal Ball, where, according to ancient gypsy beliefs, the seventh son of a seventh son would be possessed of special talents. Crystal Ball was such a person. He could occasionally read minds, which made him an excellent interrogator. He returned to Cobra La to investigate rumors of revolution and was there when a massive earthquake sealed off the passage to the hidden city. It is unclear whether or not the inhabitants of Cobra La perished in the quake. So this was a cool way of tying together two unpopular parts of G.I. Joe and kind of sealing their fate. It was almost like Hasbro was like, Okay, these characters are unpopular. There was a little bit of backlash of Cobra La from the movie. Crystal Ball was a peg warmer. This was kind of their way of writing them off, or at least that's the way I took it. And then they were reinvented in more recent years with kind of cool modern takes. But again, this is where the G.I. Joe team excels with the Easter eggs and the lore of the characters. I just thought that was really cool. All right, so that's enough of his history. Let's just take a look at this character. Oh, and one more thing on his history. Recently, when he was announced and went up for pre-order, it was listed incorrectly that he was a Dreadnought. Somebody at Hasbro made a flub, said the Crystal Ball was part of the Dreadnoughts, or at least made it seem like his update for Classified was Dreadnought affiliated. They kind of went back on that, and I believe even Lenny himself confirmed that no, he's not a Dreadnought. That was a mistake. Somebody misread some promotional material, or maybe they didn't like the backlash and they kind of recanted, but he's not a Dreadnought. It looks like they're adopting the Cobra La connection, and they're making the character more like Spider-Man's nemesis Mysterio, where he's actually using technology to kind of project these images. But anyway, let's take a look at the character. Just a great update. So gone are the red eyes, but I don't know, maybe there is some red in there. It's almost like they're a little reflective. I'm not sure if that comes up, but look at this face sculpt. This is really just, wow. Really well done. He's almost got sharp teeth in here. I mean, the hair, the makeup, man, they did just a really nice job on this figure. Just a really cool update. I mean, he's got the fur around the jacket. Well, now he's got a jacket where he didn't have that before. He's got a tattoo on this side, almost like a crescent moon on this side. Jewels in his arm gauntlet here. He's got that second eye symbol on his belt buckle here. And I might have to zoom in here, but he's got some sort of mythical tattoo on his chest there. Kind of an emerald here, which I'm wondering if it ties into the technology of projection here. You can, it looks like, take the jacket off. Comes off with no problem. And it doesn't take away from the look of the character. It actually makes him a little more classic or retro in design when you take that jacket off. It's pretty close. I mean, the colors are different. I don't think we need a retro version of Crystal Ball because that would be a peg warmer. But again, he's got the standard articulation. Looks like they could maybe fix some of the articulation in the head. See, I did that with Darkline. Actually, does Darkline's helmet fit on here? It does! Universal neck pegs are here! That kind of works? Does that work? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work. Let's just go back here. And his necklaces came right off. Anyway, he does look down with no problem. It's the head does not go that far up. It looks like the design from a couple years ago was actually a little bit better. But there you go with the standard T-pose. No problem there. He's got the butterfly joints, double joints in the elbows, just like normal. So you get a good range of motion here. Let's see how far across he goes here. I guess that would be a hypnotist flexing. I'm not really sure. Oh, he's got another tattoo here on the back of his bicep. I'll see if I can get a picture that zooms in a little bit better. Here's your hip articulation. He's got the standard drop down. I think it really highlights when they're bootylicious. I'm not seeing too much reuse here. He does have the double joints in the knees. Again, I don't see a hypnotist, interrogator, terrorist getting into this pose, but I don't know. Maybe they do that. I don't know. Here is the holster for his gun on the side here. Maybe I should drop his leg down. But again, a very good looking figure. I mean, this is a fantastic looking figure. This is how you update a classified figure. So I imagine this would impede a little bit of his articulation, but let's take a look and put this back on. I could see some people reusing this jacket on some Marvel Legends characters, maybe on some other Joe characters, Dr. Mindbender maybe, I don't know. But it doesn't look like it impedes it too much. I imagine it does when you go to bend the character back for any type of matrix type posing. It actually doesn't. It almost like it indents in where it's soft enough. This could be one of the best jackets that they've made for a 6-inch figure as far as like I don't think it's vinyl, but as far as soft plastic goes, it moves pretty well. I haven't even talked about this paint app on his chest here. Look at that. Just a solid throwback to what we got with the original figure. This could be one of the best figures of 2025 as far as G.I. Joe Classified goes. What a great looking figure. Now, on to his accessories. You have this translucent headpiece here. I guess it's some sort of demon. According to the G.I. Joe team, this is more of a projection. So it's almost like it has, I don't know if that would be a goat or ram horns. A little bit of, looks like gills on the side. Maybe like an octopus, but a demon nonetheless. Very cool looking. This is not glow in the dark. This is just translucent. But with the right lighting, you could come up with some very cool pictures. And here's that big sword that we saw in the back of Nemesis Immortal's packaging. Very cool detail here. Again, it's translucent. Actually, let me get a little light and let me show you the other stuff, and then we'll get a little light behind some of these. Here is his crystal ball. So again, translucent. It's a clear ball with the translucent green. Again, I would say it looks kind of like tentacles, maybe on an octopus. Again, his shield, solid throwback to the original shield. And it does look like this ring on the outside captures some of the colors you see in the original shield, which is a nice little throwback. And there's actually detail on the back of the shield as well as around the sides there. Again, a translucent material. This goes and snaps on the front here. So if you don't want that classic lenticular look, this snaps right onto the shield itself and it creates kind of a modern look here. Almost looks like Medusa, but that is a skull right in the middle. Again, whole bunch of snakes around. Now he gets kind of a second hand here where it actually looks reptilian almost. I wonder if this would fit well with Once a Man Cobra Commander. That might look kind of cool. Let me see if that works. Actually, I don't know where my Once a Man Cobra Commander is. I guess I packed him away. I will do an update, maybe a little short, and we'll see if this hand fits because I think this hand would look really cool with him. But let's pop this translucent head on, and it goes on with no problem. Very, very cool looking. Again, it's something that I could see Mysterio doing to Spider-Man, which is again a very cool update to this character. And he's got a handle grip here, and then it's almost like the original Shield's clip that goes right onto the forearm. And look at me doing it wrong. I put it in backwards. So it would actually go around the front of the hand. Don't do what I just did. Put the handle in first, then snap it onto the forearm. And it's kind of a soft plastic, so it doesn't really snap per se, but it goes right on with no problem. Again, very cool. Very neat update to the character. And I skipped over his gun here. So this gun here, very kind of neat. Actually, let me try this. Very cool revolver. It's got like a snake kind of as an ornament on the front there, wrapping around the barrel. Very nice looking gun. And it fits right in the holster with no problem. Sword goes right into his hand. Again, no problem. Probably not my best posing, but just very kind of unique for the classified line. Again, I just really like this update. It really worked. And let's switch his hand out here. I'm assuming this is to hold the crystal ball. Hand goes right in. Oh, as I'm playing with this, these are actually not adhered to the side of the ball. They kind of just move. And then it kind of just sits right in here. Oh, pops right out. But I think if you put it right in around his thumb, he does hold the ball with no problem. That ball ain't going anywhere. Look at that thing. Okay, maybe if you do it too hard, but why would you do that? Anyway, again, it kind of sits right there. As long as you put it into, you can almost twist it in and it goes right into his thumb and his fingers here. Oh, that's neat. It's like a coiled snake at the bottom here. Now, I don't know if that's part of the design or not, but it actually fits. His thumb goes right into that crease where it's kind of coiled. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but he will hold that ball with no problem. So again, a nice update. Actually, not a nice update. A great update to what was a peg warmer back in the day. They knocked this out. The only other time they did, I think, like the perfect update to a figure was Major Blood. Now, of course, I took apart my classified Major Blood and I made a Python Patrol one, but look at that face sculpt. This was a fantastic update to one of the original O-ring figures, and we get that again with Crystal Ball with both head sculpt. Let's take this one off, put this one back on, and I know, just be careful, the necklaces will pop right off. But anyway, another great update. Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you going to pick up Crystal Ball? Is it a peg warmer? A shelf warmer? Were you able to even pre-order one? Because I know Walmart had some issues, but it shouldn't be that hard to get for people that want Crystal Ball, because there's a lot of people that still hate the character based on this one. Either way, let me know. Oh, you know what? Something else I gotta stop rambling on. Something else I didn't say about this ball. I'm gonna take a picture of it, maybe put a light underneath, but you can see the skull in there. The skull that is here on the side, you can actually see it in there, but I'm gonna put some light on there so you can see it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Go hug somebody. Take care. With no problem. That ball ain't going anywhere. Look at that thing. Okay, maybe if you do it too hard.